This is In the Zone with Ian Robb and Dancin Rodda. One's a mental toughness coach who also helps riders with recovery. The other, a horseman with soul, who is also a marriage counselor for the rider and horses. Together, they dive beyond ribbons and rankings to where real riders train, the mind. From elite arenas to quiet barns, this show is about the mental edge, the recovery rhythm, and the heart that keeps you in sync with your horse and yourself. So whether you're tuning in from the tack room or the open road, saddle up. You're in the zone now.
Welcome back to In the Zone with Ian Robb and Dancin Rodda, where we explore what it takes to perform at their best in the arena, in competition, and in life. Today's guest is someone who has spent nearly 5 decades proving that greatness isn't built on shortcuts. It's built on understanding, patience, and unwavering commitment to learning. Bill Riddle has trained horses that have earned more than $4.5 million in competition, while his clients have won nearly another $4 million. He's taught clinics across the United States and around the world, served as president of the National Cutting Horse Association, and even wrote the original casebook used to train cutting horses judges. But if you ask the people that know him best, they'll tell you that his greatness accomplishment isn't measured in dollars or championships, is measured in a horseman and horsewoman he's helped develop.
That's what I'm looking forward to today. We all admire the trophies, but what's fascinating me is what happens before the trophies. How do you develop the feel, the timing, and the patience that make great horses and great horsemen?
Today, we're going to talk more about the philosophy, the lessons and learned for nearly 50 years. What all of us, whether we ride cutting horses, jumpers, dressage horses, and simply love horses, can take away from this incredible journey. So settle in, because this is going to be a conversation about horsemanship, leadership, and the lifelong pursuit of becoming just a little bit better every day. Please welcome Bill Riddle. Hey, Bill.
Hey, how are you guys today?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing fine.
Good.
I'm listening to that introduction, trying to figure out if it's about me or not.
Oh, good. We hope it was somewhat true.
Yes, absolutely.
So we have a lot of fun here, and we always like to have different people from different parts of the equine world, and we're really honored to have you join us. And I have to say that we had your daughter on, Heavy Minion, before, and she spoke quite highly of you. So we said we have to have Bill, your dad, on our show. So thank you.
So to get started, Bill, how did you get started into horses?
Like so many, it was from childhood, of course. My parents had 2 sets of kids. They had 4. My youngest sister was 16 years older than me. And then they had an accident and they named it Bill Riddle. And, and my dad didn't want to raise me alone, so they had my brother Terry, and in 1944, when I was born, they didn't talk about or think about Down syndrome, that sort of thing. They just had 2 more kids, and everything turned out fine. But that brother of mine was killed on Iwo Jima in World War II when I was 5 months old.
Oh, wow.
And he had already established a reputation as a big-time calf roper before the war started. And as a young kid, I remember them bringing his body back when I was 4 years old. I remember being at the train station and having a brand new pair of black boots. That's all I can remember of that. But through the years, his friends would come by, visit with my dad. They always told the same stories about what a calf roper he was and all. And so I grew up wanting to be like my brother. My dad knew all those cowboys. We would go to the Fort Worth rodeo when I was a kid. And then at Vernon, Texas, E. Paul Wagner had a big time rodeo they called the Santa Rosa Roundup. And we would go to that. That's all the rodeo we would see. And that was just enough to make you crazy. The rest of the year, you didn't get to see any more rodeo, but you thought about it every day. We rode our horses. We began to break colts. I broke first colt when I was 9 years old. And we either had a rodeo or we played cowboys and Indians, one of the two, as kids on those colts. And that's the way I learned to be a horseman. I began rodeoing when I was 16 years old. And at 32 years old, I changed my direction and moved into the cutting horses. But I always loved horses. And that was the genesis of my horse enthusiasm.
So you competed at rodeos?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I roped calves and wrestled steers and team roped and that sort of thing.
Okay.
And how old were you when you first started, Bill?
I was 9 years old when I started riding. I think I was about 16 when I actually competed for the very first time.
So what got you to go towards the cutting?
My brother and his partner, Joe Ayers, had a mare that her name was Lena Att. Lena Att was in the first crop of Docolinas. Shorty Freeman brought that first group of Docolinas to the fraternity in 1975. Lena Att was the best out of, I think he had 11 or 13, something like that, colts at the fraternity. She was the best Docolina of the bunch. And back then you could only ride one at the fraternity. And he made a deal with Terry for him to show her. He was experienced and a great showman, and it would be Terry's second fraternity horse. And Terry was smart enough to realize that with a mare of that quality, maybe it's best to let Shorty show her. She won the fraternity. Terry showed me that check, and it was $30,500 to win the fraternity in 1975.
Wow.
When a go around at Fort Worth would pay $3,200 back then in the calf roping, and I was 32 years old, which is toward the end of a rodeo career. And I thought, you know what, that check looks pretty good. And it was the perfect timing. The fraternity had exploded. We had a lot more horses that needed to be trained than we had horse trainers. And I joined my brother, went to work for him and for Joe Ayers, and my training career began in 1977.
I guess you'd have to win a lot of rodeos to make that kind of money for one show.
You couldn't do it.
Not like today, right?
Not like today. No, actually, as we speak this morning, there's never been a better day to be a horse trainer. There's never been a better day to be a rodeo cowboy. Probably never been a better day to own cattle than today.
Yes, sir. So let's get deeper into what you're doing now. So you had the career when you got into the cutting. I remember hearing that you're a world champion. How many multiple times?
Actually, I've never really had a world's champion horse. I always stayed in the aged events, and you kind of had to do one or the other at that time for me, the way I was set up. But I've had a mare that ended up fifth one year, had another one that was sixth one year for the world, but actually going out and trying to win the world. Never did do that. But I've had a limited age business here since 1989. I began working for the public after I left my brother. I went to Duluth Quarter Horses, and that was in 1979, then to Crawford Farms in 1982, then to Ferris Ranch, and always had some pretty good limited age horses.
And then you're still competing at what age?
I'm 81.
Whew. Lots of wisdom in that seat, I guarantee you.
Yeah, I don't know. Hope.
So, Bill, we're talking about that, how long you've been doing this for nearly over 50 years. What do you know now that you wish your 25-year-old Bill Riddle would know or knew?
I'll tell you what 25-year-old Bill Riddle didn't know. 25-year-old Bill Riddle didn't know that there were a lot of the answers that I needed as a horseman were already there. I didn't really maybe know how to access those answers. I had a really good friend, a guy named Dominique Gignot. He was a chiropractor and he was an osteopath, I believe, and a chiropractor. He was also a veterinarian, and he worked at the racetrack in Chantilly in France. And he had read the ledgers, the old books that they used to train the French horses that they used for war horses in the 1500s. And he would say, Bill, y'all don't have a bit, you don't have a brattle, you don't have a technique that hasn't already been developed. They had to train those horses to fight on. And I didn't know all of that back then. A lot of times you would think you knew something and trial and error would prove you wrong. I think the key to being a great horseman is to look for knowledge on a daily basis, whether you're learning it from a horse or from somebody that's already figured it out that's willing to share it with you. I know that I had to completely change my horses a few years ago because times had changed and the way that horses look working a cow changed. And I had to be willing to make that transition. And that's difficult for a lot of people to do. A lot of people have a hard time saying this would be better if I did it differently.
So tell us the difference. What was it like before, and then what did it become?
We early on, let me take you back to the beginning for cutting. Cutting came from the time that there were no fences. Cutting came from the time that there would be 6,000 or 7,000 cattle running together on the open range. And those cattle would be owned by 4, 5, 6, 7 different ranches. They'd gather those cattle, and each foreman or each ranch would have someone that was riding a cutting horse, their brands out of that herd. And you had to cut them out of there and drive them away from that herd 20, 30, 40, 50 yards until your cowboys could get behind those cattle. And then you would take those cattle a half a mile away from that big herd. And the big herd became 7 herds or 8 herds or whatever. And then once you had that done, then you had to sort again, because now you had to rope and brand the babies. You had to cut the dry cows off, or steers, or whatever you were going to market. All those cattle had to be sorted again. And that cutting horse was the horse that you used. Now, that horse didn't look anything like the horse we showed today. That horse, yes, sir?
No, go ahead. Sorry.
And that horse, of course, when you cut the cow away, she tried to get back, and he helped you keep her from getting back. And he couldn't run and stop square and rock back on his hocks and turn 180 degrees. He had to fight the battle with that cow, and the whole time you're driving her away from the herd while you're working her until your other cowboys could get to her. So that horse looked totally different than the horse today. When cutting started, those cowboys brought their cutting horses to town and showed them. They didn't train a cutting horse to bring to town and show. They brought their ranch horse to town and showed him. So that horse looked totally different from what we see today. As they begin to develop the cutting horse, the horses changed, but that cow horse that wanted to stay faced up to a cow all time stayed in this industry for a long time. And that horse then gave way to a horse that ran straighter, ran flatter, stopped more on his butt, read a cow, figured out where a cow was going, and then turned around and went and stopped the cow. So you had a transition. And in the 80s, a horse that was real bright-eared and bright-eyed and pat his feet and stay in front of a cow, the dark bar influence, would win. That same horse today will mark us 213 on a good day. So we had to change. Darrell Roy used to say, and when he was head coach at University of Texas and won a national championship there, he said, when you throw a pass, there's 3 things happen. 2 of them's bad. So we're not going to throw, we're going to run. How would he get along today in football? He would have to change. He would get along, but he would change. Trainers have had to do that. It's true with bareback riders and the bronc riding. The riggings have changed. Everything evolves to something better, something different. The problem that you have is our ego sometimes makes it really difficult for us to accept change. And it doesn't matter what we do, whether you're playing a guitar or whatever, you're going to have to change, or the truck will run over you.
I think that's profound for in the zone, that if you're in the zone and you're not willing to change, you're not going to stay in the zone in competition if the competition changes. So that's
it. And it always does.
Yes, sir.
It always does. Look at professional basketball today compared to 20 years ago.
Yeah, the only time you want to watch it is during the finals, because then they start playing basketball.
Yeah.
Or the final 2 minutes.
Yeah, the final 2 minutes.
But the thing of it is, everything, baling hay, I had all the equipment at one time that you needed, and none of it's any good anymore. Everything evolves. Everything gets better over time. So we figure out better ways to do it over time.
So, Bill, this brings up a good question where I want to go into here a little bit more. Was there one horse early in your career that completely changed the way you thought about your training?
One horse that would change the way I think about my training. I don't know.
We're talking about adapting. So was there a horse that made you rethink about how you would train other horses or other people?
Yeah, I had a couple of horses that probably did that, and that was probably a horse called Eyes on Me, another horse called Cat Attack Cat. They were both stallions. They were both ornery stallions, and I had to get the most leg control on those horses that I had ever had on a horse. In cutting, you don't get to use your hand. You have to, when you select the cow, you put your hand on their neck, bridle rein hand on their neck, and the horse has to do the job on his own. He has to hold the cow on his own. You can't rein him. You can't help him that way, but you can use your feet. And I had used my legs, of course, for a long time. But on those particular horses, I figured out that I had to be able to stop, to turn, to back up, all of those things with bridle reins tied to the saddle horn when I was messing around at home with them. I got them where I could literally ride them anywhere I wanted to go without using my hand. That changed my way of thinking, and ultimately it made my horses more modern. Fortunately, in the early days, everybody would say, Bill, your horses are too flat. And then a guy named John Taubert came along, and his were flatter than mine, and I was off the hook. So my horses have always been a little flatter in the beginning. In the old days, a little flatter than the other guys. The other people were more face up than me. Now, when I look at my videos of those horses, they're even flatter today, but I think they're better.
So on that same thought pattern, who is your influencers that made you change the most during your development in the cutting?
There was, let me put it this way. At the end of my rodeo career, I realized I had never had an official lesson other than my father or my brother-in-law, and they were both gone. And we were at Lawton, Oklahoma rodeo Saturday night. I tied the fastest calf Saturday night. There had been 80 calf ropers there that week. I wound up third in the calf roping, and Greg Winham, who was a really good calf roper, rode up to me. He was 6-7 years younger than me, maybe more than that. He said, Bill, he said, I really like you. I could really help your calf roping if you would let me. I don't know why he said that. I got no idea. Most people would have probably thought, you peep squeak, I just beat you here. But my response was simple. I said, what are you going to be doing Tuesday? You going to be home? He said, yes, sir. I said, I want to come. How'd I get there? Didn't have GPS. How'd I get there? Showed up at his house, pulled up, unloading my horse. He walks out of the house. He's got on a pair of tennis shoes, socks, shorts, and a T-shirt. He doesn't look anything like a cowboy. And he said, tie that horse trailer and come in the house. Tied the horse trailer, walked in his house. He had the first media room I'd ever seen. He had a blanket on the window. He had a table and a 8mm projector and several cans of film. And they were all National Finals rodeo calf roping films. He said, I'm going to show you how to handle these big calves. Back in that day and time, the more money they put up, the bigger the calves were. He said, I'm going to show you how to do this. I'm going to show you what a couple of guys that we knew real well said they'll never tell you. I'm going to show you. And he did. And then we went out and tied a big old calf to a post, and I couldn't flank it for a little while and finally figured out doing what he showed me how to flank it. Long story short, not long after that, I want to go around Fort Worth. That's one of the bigger rodeos of the world. You want to do that. Placed at Houston, you want to do that. And I realized the value of a lesson. I realized the value of an open mind. And I think that saved me as a cutting horse trainer. I never forgot that. I never forgot the difference that it was only a morning. It was only 3 hours. I never forgot the difference that made. It completely changed the way I competed as a calf roper. Then I began as a cutting horse trainer, listening, of course, to Terry Riddle and my brother and to Bill Freeman, who was the best showman. Terry was married to his sister, so I was right in the middle of it. Shorty was Bill's dad, and Shorty was a great trainer. Shorty Freeman was one of the best. He and Buster Welch and Matlock Rose and those guys were the guys when I started. And Shorty would, for some reason, would talk to me, and I quizzed him a lot. So I grew as a horseman in that day and time. And then a guy named Dale Wilkinson entered my life. And Dale, the old reining horse guy back when reining horses were true bridle horses. And Dale had a lot of influence on the way that I dealt with stallions and the way that I asked horses. Dale would say, it doesn't matter. It's all about the release, Bill. It doesn't, all of this pressure, it's the release. And then I figured out with all of that with the horses that we trained, I had to release them differently. I couldn't get, when that horse tucked his chin, yeah, you're going to release him to start with. But guess what? With the cutter, until that bridle rein says something to his hind feet, it hasn't said anything to a cutter. So I had to learn to I had to learn to get that discussion going on. Let's get these bridle reins to talk to those hind feet. And when that happened, when that becomes a part, then you're in business. And then as you get down toward finished in time to show, then all of that has to be transferred. You stop them with your seat and you ride them with your feet.
So, Bill, you said that cutting, this goes to what you're talking about, is really a conversation between a horse and a cow. How does a rider become a better listener during that conversation?
My wife used to explain to me that a conversation means both are listening. And so what I'm going to ask a horse when I get on him, I'm going to ask him to go where I want to go. I don't know how this applies to the rest of your audience, but to the people that work cattle, I want to work a cow like I didn't have a horse. I want to go where I would go to handle that cow if I didn't have a horse. If I was fast enough, if I could run fast enough, if I could keep up, where would I go? I'm on a horse. I can keep up. If I could run and carry a 6 or 7 foot gait with me and not stumble and fall around, I could handle a cow pretty good, couldn't I? I got a 7 foot gait. I'm riding him and he's fast. So I don't need to do everything a cow does the instant a cow moves her head. I need to figure out where she's going to go and then turn around and stop her. And once I get that conversation going and a horse begins to understand what we're doing, then that horse's confidence grows. You take the fake playing basketball. You take the fake trying to be a linebacker in football. You take the fake because you don't think you're good enough to stop him unless you beat him. You don't take the fake if you're confident. Do you think that a professional basketball player would take my fake on a one-on-one game anywhere in the world? Lord, no. They'd stand there and grin, and when I finally decided to shoot, they'd block my shot. Probably wouldn't even jump because they know I can't beat them. It's my job when I train a horse to make him bulletproof. And I would think that would be whether he was jumping a fence or working a cow or if I was bulldogging or whatever I'm doing. If I give that horse the confidence to do his job and the release comes because he does it well, then I think the end of this is a horse that's very confident, that's not nervous and fretful about his job because he knows how to do it. And that, as a horse trainer, my job is to make him confident. You can't be confident unless you actually know what the job is. And that's the hard part of training a horse. What is the job that we're trying to get over to that horse?
So are you a true believer? Because I've worked a lot of cattle on the ground, which made it easier for me to work cattle off of horseback. Do you believe in getting people to learn how to move cattle on the ground before they get in with the horse?
I do. I believe that's important. As a matter of fact, I used to have people work the herd on foot, and then a guy one time was a little short of air, and I said, "Have you ever had a heart attack?" He's not for 6 months. So I've been pretty reluctant to put them on the ground at a clinic anymore. But here's what happens. Here's what happens when you work on the ground. 2 things happen. Number one, you learn how to move cattle around. But the bad part of working cattle on the ground is you learn to read what a cow's going to do when he moves his head. You can't teach that to a horse. A horse has to see movement. Now, think what I just said. I tell people sometimes, you're too good a cowboy to be a cutter. We're going to have to dummy you down, because if you've been raised on a ranch and your dad's hollered at you every time you let a cow get away all your life, then you don't want to give a cow a chance. You, as a cutter, if you're going to show cutting horses and be successful, a horse has to read what that cow's going to do. We can't sit down and have this conversation. The only way a horse learns to read is we have to show him over and over again. It's a repetition. How do we do that? We teach him. When we work the flag, for example, I make a horse wait until the flag gets to his hind leg to turn around so that I'm shaping him. And that flag goes by my eyes, goes by his eyes. And as a result, then we learn to be patient and to read. And guess what? When he turns around, now he's where he belongs. If he turns around early, he's long. So the reading, I have to teach him to read by the way I train him. I can't tell him to read. I've got to show him how to read. And I've got to make reading a habit. He'll read quicker. In all these years, I've trained 3 horses that turned around too slow. You're always having to slow them down. They learn to go fast. You have to say, wait a minute, wait, read, wait, read. And so that is the way that I teach him to be confident. I teach him his job because he learns, there she went. Did she go? Yeah, she went. I'm going to go. Did she go? Yes, go.
So I love what you just said, because the only cutter I've really been around is Doug Jordan. I don't know Doug. And he speaks almost exactly like you. You just said it in a different way of letting the horse figure things out instead of you just micromanaging the horse to do it.
The difference in my philosophy and some of the other guys is this. If you don't teach a horse to be patient, the most important thing is to instill patience. And that's the hardest thing to keep on a horse as they get older and smarter. So what I do is I make a deal with a horse. When you stop, I want you to step back. Okay. If he steps back, once he figures out anything about what we're doing, he'll step back with the inside hind leg. He's always going to push with that leg last when he turns around. He'll move it out of the way. He'll turn around in the last leg to push. When he leaves, there'll be that inside leg. So if I teach him to step back, I teach him to set his feet. I don't have to look under there and see if he put it right. If he steps back 1 step, he'll put it where he belongs. I don't want him running backwards. I just want him to step back. If I can teach him to step back, something about a horse, when he thinks about stepping back, he thinks, oh my goodness, I better stop fast so I can step back. And they stop harder. They'll stop harder because they're thinking about rocking back, stepping back. There's a lot of different phrases that trainers use. But they'll stop harder if they're thinking about stepping back. I think they're in a hurry to step back. They'll hit that ground and rock back. Now, what does that do? That changes the CD, changes the center of gravity. It'll change that CG. When you change that center of gravity, when a horse is just standing, 60% of his weight's on his front end. He can't turn around like we want him to turn around with 60% of the weight on his front end. When he steps back and loads that butt, it's about 50-50. We can't ever get it 60 in the back and 40 in front for very long, but we can get it 50-50. Now he's athletic enough, strong enough. He can move, doesn't hurt himself as often, and he can move and can handle that front end so he can get it across the cow.
Wow. So with your background, Ian, tennis players, is that what you taught them when they would volley back and forth to step back so they could go left or right? And
Not necessarily. But
I'll tell you what you did do, though. I'll tell you what you did do. When that player was about to serve, you spread your legs, you dropped your butt, you got on the balls of your feet, and if you tried to read the direction of that ball and you tried to meet it at a place where you were under control and able to return the serve, didn't you?
Now he's getting into my mind. Did you watch me when I was younger playing tennis? That's what I'm trying to figure out, Bill. Did you get a video?
See, when you drop that, when you get in an athletic position, whether it's tennis, whether it's a shortstop, second baseman,
you're absolutely
right. You
right.
don't break when the pitcher throws the ball. You break after it gets hit.
Correct. So I actually use my tennis skills from basketball. When you play defense in basketball, we get down low, quick feet, and I would keep my butt down. I would not be heavy because I would be beat. Because I got big flippers. I got size 14 feet. So I have to be only on the balls of my feet.
And I'll bet you at some point in time, your coach said, look at the numbers, don't look at his head.
Yeah, that's for sure. So I think, Pete, now's a good time to get into Bill's head. Okay? We're going to get in the zone and what defining the zone means for you, Bill. Okay? So for every athlete talks about being in the zone. What does that feel like for you, Bill, in the cutting pen?
When the zone always happens, there's one ingredient you have to be in the zone. That's a good horse. That's a trained horse that's sound and ready to roll and will let you go. When my horse will let me go where I want to go, I don't have to think about it. I use my feet. I go where I want to go. I sit where I want to sit. And when I sit, I release that horse. His release from the pressure is when I sit down and relax my legs. All the things you hear trainers say to you. Get your heels down. If you relax your knees, your heels come down automatically. Don't lean. If you watch that cow's head go by your foot, you won't lean. And you get in the zone when you can go where you want to go, stop where you want to stop, wait until you want to leave. Now, is that micromanaging? Not really when you're on the same team. And if you're not on the same team, you're not going to get through those runs. When you're on the same team, then you're going to get through those runs. And when you get in the zone, like horse like Cat Attack Cat, way back there, I had a mare called Otoetta that won the first Derby on. She was a fabulous mare, and as a 5-year-old, she set all kinds of records. And John Paxton showed her when she was 5, won the world as a 5-year-old, won 93,000 in 1982, owner in the non-pro. She was a special horse. Astonishing Foxy was a special mare that belonged to Glenn Drake that I showed. You could get in the zone on those because you could go where you wanted to go. You let that horse read that cow, let that cow start, and then you say, go stop it. And you ask her to stop it. And then you've got a plan. If it doesn't stop, what I'll do, I'm going to go off the fence this time. All of that stuff. But getting in the zone on a horse, to me, if you can't go where you want to go, you can't get in the zone. You can't even stay on the highway if you can't ride where you need to go.
So when you go into a competition, how do you prepare yourself and the horse to get into what you're calling in the zone, being what I would say you're one being when you're doing the competition? How would you watch me?
If you'd sit this morning and watch me work the show horses, you'd say, what's he doing? I'm going to make sure that when a cow moves her head that I can get where I want to go without any fear, without any just step over here. And I'm going to sit down. When I sit down, I want that stop. I'm going to think like I want that horse to move. I want to get over there and get stopped, rock back, but I may turn the wrong way. If I ask a horse to move off my leg and he doesn't, I may just go ahead and turn him around that way. Always asking, always checking. I want to make sure the accelerator works. I want to make sure that he'll get off my leg. I want to make sure the brakes work. And it's not about practicing cutting. I tell people, they say, I want to practice cutting. No, you don't. You want to learn how to get where you want to go in the pen. That's what you want to practice. Working a cow and going 5 or 6 beautiful turns is a lot of fun, but that's not what it's about, learning how to cut. Learning to cut, you've got to learn how to get. First of all, you got to learn where to go and then how to get there. Once you learn where to go and how to get there, now you get to practice. And unfortunately, that usually means paying entry fees.
So practice costs you in the cutting world.
Yeah, exactly. So you coach a lot of champions, but even yourself, how much is winning in your perspective is mental compared to physical in the cutting world?
Well, here's the deal. You can buy a horse that you can win on for a short period of time. But if you're not coachable, and if I can't teach you what we're really trying to do, won't be long till that horse won't be very good. Because remember, horses learn from release of pressure. And until I can teach you your job, the pressure releases will be in the wrong place. Think about this. This horse actually is an animal of prey. He's food for a tiger. Okay. So he wants to be herd bound. He wants to get away from anything that's frightening. And we're teaching him to be a panther. We're teaching him to go hold the line, to look, the really good ones look a whole lot more like a mountain lion than they do anything else, don't they? They look the part. Okay. He's got to learn how to handle that and how to handle what at one time might have been fear. And if he's afraid, you'll never get him trained. So he's got to learn how to be confident there. He's got to learn how to be confident there. So what I'm going to do when I'm taking a client, first thing I've got to do is get you to buy in that you've got to learn some stuff. And it's not put my hand down and kick. It's not put my hand down and kick. What you've got to learn is where you actually want to go and how to get there. And it's probably not going to happen overnight.
Oh, no, really?
No, really, it's probably not. It's probably not. And I've had clients. I had one client I only had him for 25 years, and that's a long time. Had another one for 27 years. That's a long time. You can keep guys, but you can't ever lie to them. And you've got to keep them mounted in such a way that they can have success. And you don't want to put a hyper guy on a hyper horse.
Yes.
And if a guy is really laid back, the more laid back he is, probably the hotter horse he can ride. You see where I'm going with this?
Yes, sir.
You kind of have to fit all that together. And the other part that's true, the more, as far as cutting is concerned, I don't know about other disciplines, but as far as cutting is concerned, the more anal you are, the harder it is to win. Because that great plan that you've got when you start the herd, somewhere in it's going to fall apart. Somewhere in it, you have to make a decision that's different from what you plan to do. And that's the reason you got to have all these tools. That's the reason you got to be able to ride a little further, or ride off a little bit, or ride up a little bit, or whatever. You're going to cut a cow that goes real fast, so you got to ride slow. Next cow might be really good, and you can wipe that horse around and take that 72 cow and mark a 74 on it. But you're constantly making decisions, and you have to learn to make those decisions.
What habits do all of your great students have in common?
My great students, finally, and I say finally because some of them learn a lot quicker than others, we remember the horses that we can train. The hardheads, we might remember they were hard-headed for a while, but those horses don't get in the history books. The people that get in the history books are also trainable at some point. And they might not all be trainable by me, but they're trainable somewhere. Some coach gets to that great quarterback. You have to be coachable. All of them are coachable at some level.
You just have to get them to that point to be coached.
Find that point, yeah.
Or if they're not coachable, do you tell them go play golf, pick up a new sport?
I've only told a couple of people that I didn't think they could actually ever do this at all. But what you want to do, success in cutting is not about beating anybody. Success in cutting is a contest between you and your mind and your physical ability. All three of those things come in, and now get on a horse and now work the cows you cut. If you start trying to beat somebody, you can't box. I have a guy that was a client of mine. He was a baseball player at Texas A&M, scholarship pitcher, Texas A&M. And he'd say, I get so aggravated when you tell me to relax when I want to try really hard. But you can't do anything on a horse if you're tense. And the reason I say that is this. If I'm going to school a horse, if I'm going to ask a horse to move, I've got to stiffen my leg. If I'm going to ask a horse to stop, if I'm going to do it with bridle reins, I've got to stiffen my arm. A horse feels that tension. So if I am nervous and don't know why, then the horse is trying to figure out where's the shoe going to drop? What am I doing wrong? Tension will work in the right spot. Tension adds speed. Tension adds intensity. But you've also got to release that. The horse has to have its place to get relief.
So you talked a lot about how things have changed over the years, and you've taught a lot of clinics around the world. Do you feel that riders have changed over the years a little bit more? Do you feel like they're better prepared today as a cutter? What are you noticing the difference with them?
I think I've done clinics just about everywhere. 7 in a row in France. I've done them in Australia. I've done them in Brazil, Canada, all over the United States. It depends on, everybody doesn't have to win the fraternity to enjoy cutting. Everybody doesn't have. If you call me and you said, okay, Bill, I enjoyed this interview. Now, how do I get involved? You know what I'm going to ask you?
What's that?
Can you afford it? And you're going to say, when you start counting your money, no, I'm not. It's not just money. You have the time? You got the time? If you're going to succeed as a cutter, probably in most any equine sport, you not only have to be able to afford it, but you have to have the time to do it. And therein lies what I try to do. If a guy is wanting to make really good ranch horses, that's entirely different than a kid that is tremendously talented and wants to be a non-pro Hall of Famer or a open rider Hall of Famer. That's a different level. That's a different. And so how have things changed? I don't know that they really have. It's interesting in that you can't do this if you don't work at it. The guy that'll just wear you out is the one that's going to succeed. You've got to work at it. And we have a lot of people that will. A lot of people work really hard. The prima donna is not very successful in cutting.
Dedication is very important. You can want to do something, but if you don't dedicate it, it's probably not going to happen.
You can say, I want to. I'm not interested in what you tell me. I can tell by watching you. I can tell if you really want to. I did a clinic 2 or 3 weeks ago in Montana. I had a guy, we would be talking about how to get these horses to get around, just be able to move them around. And I look up, he's out there and he's doing it. And then I'd say, how'd that work? And we talked about it. But every time I look up, he was doing it. He didn't tell me he wanted to. He showed me he wanted to. And that's the difference. Then you've got to coach those guys because you can't do too much of anything to a horse at one time. What becomes a sensitive move for a horse will finally become a dead move for a horse. He'll get to the point that it doesn't mean that much to him. So you have to blend it.
So going on to your judging and influencing judges, what do you give judges to say, this is what you should be looking for, this is what's more important? What is it that you give them advice on that?
My take on judging will be different than you expect it to be. When I joined the National Cutting Horse Association in 1977, I had taught school for 10 years, and in the wintertime, I had officiated basketball. And in judging, we had at that period in time, we had a lot of judges, and none of them read the rule book the same. Everybody had a different opinion of how you were supposed to do things. And as I became a part of the executive committee in NCHA and became a part of the nuts and bolts of NCHA, I kept trying to get somebody to write a case book, and finally they said, well, you do it. And the case book I'm talking about is similar to the basketball case book, where you've got a rule book. And I did that. I wrote that book, and it's been, of course, changed and updated and upgraded a lot since then. But in 1984, that we had the first one. And to me, that was my contribution to judging. I judged until we got that ball rolling, and we've upgraded our judging, and our judging is pretty darn good, really. If you get right down to it, it's pretty good. I figured out if I was going to stay on the executive committee and help make big decisions there and judge two, that I would look up someday. I just knew I'd look up someday and wouldn't have a friend left. So I had to make a decision, and I haven't judged in a long time. But I teach people what judges are looking for. Every time I do a clinic, a big clinic, I get NCHA to send a monitor and do a judging seminar at the clinic.
Very good.
You know what I like, Pete, though, is how Bill is referring to other sports all the time. We talk tennis, we talk football, we talk basketball. I played many sports, and what Pete and I like is that what the mindset and what you learn from other sports, you can also relate to the sport that you're in right now, for sure. So
I have a saying that all mastery ends up in the same line. So a top cutter talks the same thing about things that a good golfer talks about, a good basketball player. Everything comes to the same line in focus.
I think you're exactly right. And I probably don't use a lot of the terminology, but probably have the same philosophies that you have. There's that line, that discipline that I have been so busy training horses all these years that I've developed my own way of teaching people, but it's been okay.
So if you could change one thing about the horse industry today, Bill, what would it be?
If I could change one thing about it,
one thing,
it'd be nice if it wasn't expensive, but it is. For the rank and file guy to succeed in our business, it's costly, and that's not going to change. The time of competing on the cheap horses, but it's just about gone. There's the kind of competition you're talking about requires a pretty darn good horse. And those things have gotten pretty darned expensive. So would you like for that to go? Well, I don't know. The business is good because of it. You can make money because of it. Certainly you need enough classes, enough different areas. We don't in cutting, for example, we don't have a claiming race. It'd be nice to have one. In racing, there's a place to put every horse. There's a place for every horse to run. There kind of is in our sport, but I say that those areas are thicker. We're not as refined. Still takes all day to have a cutting horse show, pretty much, but it would be the answer you're looking for there. I don't know if I really completely have that answer or not as far as how it should change. I'm not sure that there's a lot we could do that could make it better than it is right now. The purses are big. The horses are valuable if they're good. You can still buy a horse that you can compete on for a third of what a pickup cost. So I don't know that there's a lot of change that needs to be made, truly, right now. And that's not the answer. That's going to be hard to cut and make fit.
Oh, I think it was a great answer. So we're now at my favorite part of the show, the rapid fire round. This is where we're going to send some questions towards you. And it's a one word, and a lot of, I don't want to put you in a box. Some of our people actually talk about it. And if you have words to say, we don't mind. But this is going to be going fast at you. So we're going to ask you a question. First thing that comes into your mind, answer. You ready?
Yep.
Here we go. Favorite horse you've ever swung a leg over?
Stylish and Foxy.
Mare or gelding?
Mare.
Favorite bloodline?
Favorite bloodline?
Yes, sir.
I had a lot of success on Stylish Oaks.
Okay.
Oh, my turn. That's good.
Yeah, your
Okay.
turn.
Young prospect or finished horse?
Oh, golly, that's hard. Love them both.
Okay, fair enough.
One trait every great cutting horse must have, or the top five.
A sense of urgency.
Okay.
What's harder to train, the horse or the rider?
The rider.
One word that describes great horsemanship.
Patience.
What's the first thing that you notice when watching a rider?
What's the term? Flow.
Most underrated skill in cutting.
Reading a cow.
One training mistake you see almost every day.
Impatience.
Pressure or excitement.
Excitement.
What's one word you tell yourself before walking into the herd?
Winning or learning.
Learning will end up winning.
Okay.
What's tougher, a bad run or a bad day in the barn?
Oh, a bad day in the barn.
Favorite clinic location you ever taught?
New Mexico.
Sunrise ride or sunset ride?
Morning.
Coffee before horses? Yes or no?
Yes.
Favorite way to relax after a horse show?
Favorite way to relax after a horse show? To me, there's nothing better than sitting down with friends and having a meal and enjoying each other.
Theme song they would play if you came out for your cutting, if you were allowed to.
Like they would in baseball.
Theme song. Walk-up song.
Yes, sir.
Probably the one I wrote.
There you go.
There you go.
If you look up Frank Hannon and Cowboy Blues, you'll find it.
Okay.
I'm going to look it up now, that's for sure. One word to describe your daughter, Havy.
Awesome.
Oh, I'd agree on that.
One word you would describe your grandson.
Amazing.
What makes you smile more, winning a championship or seeing one of your students winning one?
You know, I'm probably not good enough to not be lying if I say it's one of my students, but boy, that's awfully good. It's awfully good when I've had the honor of being in the corner twice when Austin Shepard won the fraternity. I've had the honor of being in the corner when Paul Hansma won the fraternity. I've been fortunate enough to get to help some of those guys that learned under me, and it's pretty darn good when they do well.
All right, last question for you, Bill. Finish this sentence. The best horsemen never stop blank.
Learning. That one's easy.
Okay, we can keep on going if you want.
Well, Bill, this was once again a really good talk. And what I loved about this is that you told stories for your answers, not just giving us an answer. So to me, that's how I teach, is a story tells you way more than just the answer if you give them one word or two words. So I really appreciate how you presented yourself with that.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
And I know you're trying to probably ask your daughter, Havy, how in the heck am I going to be on this talk show? What the heck are we going to be talking about?
Yeah.
Since so not the same person, but we appreciate what you offer. We appreciate what you said. And I think there's a lot of truth and similarities in what you say.
And I think if you're a jumper, anything in any discipline in the horse world, what you gave relates back to them.
I had the honor of helping Aaron, Olympic jumper, which is there at Fort Worth. Aaron
Vale?
Aaron Vale.
Aaron Vale, yeah. I had the honor of putting him on a cutting horse at Fort Worth.
This past year at the World?
Yeah, at the World Cup, yeah.
Oh, my goodness. So what was that like?
It was amazing. It was amazing. His wife asked Havy, said, is there any way we could ride a cutting? So I brought a mare down, a mare that belonged to my daughter, and Aaron took a minute for him to figure out to keep his hand down. The video of him riding that mare, it looks like he'd been riding for 20 years. He's a horseman. He's an Olympian. But when I talked to him about a cutting horse, it was like he wanted every word. And of course, being the horseman he is, he just translated that into, he understood how to go sit down for the stop. And for anybody that rides any kind of English saddle, that's usually hard. It wasn't hard for him at all.
You do know who he learned from when he was growing up, Buck Brannaman.
Oh,
so
okay.
He had a little bit of background, I bet.
A little bit of background on it. Okay. No, he didn't tell me. If he did, I didn't pick up on it. But oh my goodness, it was fun. Golly.
And Buck, when I met Buck, he told me that. That's how I know that.
That's a great story. Do you have a video of this by chance? That we
yeah, Havy's got one.
All right. Okay. We're definitely going to see that. But I hope he returned the favor that if you come to the World Equestrian Center, that he will put you on a horse and you could jump over the jumps over here. What would you like to do that?
It depends on how high they
are. Well, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Oh, before we go, how can someone follow you if they've been listening to this podcast? How can they might want to take a clinic of yours? How can they learn more about you, Bill, besides from your daughter?
Just BillRiddleCuttingHorses.com website.
I like it simple. I like it.
There you go.
Very simple. All right, Bill. Thank you so much for joining us. And you guys that are listening, I hope this resonated with you guys. I hope you learned something from this. And if you like this, then let us know. Pete, you want to say anything?
This is great. I loved listening to it. It was like listening to music.
Music. There you go. All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
That's a wrap on another powerful episode of In the Zone with Ian Robb and Dancin Pete Rodda. Whether you ride, compete, or simply love your animals like family, today's episode was a reminder that true teamwork starts with connection and that health is the ultimate performance edge. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave us a review. And catch us next time as we dive deeper into the mind, body, and bold journeys of top performers. Until then, stay focused, stay inspired, and keep riding in the zone. When you want the very best for your animal, choose Foresight. Animals make such a difference to our everyday lives. Our performance and working animals show up for us through their loyalty and hard work, while our pets make the best companions and are there to greet us at the start of each day, to comfort us and stay by our side. No matter who they are or what they do for us, often our animals need our support too. And that's why we've developed Foresight Epitalis Forte. Made with our world-exclusive patented ingredient, Epitalis, Foresight is scientifically proven to support joint health in dogs dogs and horses. To ensure they reach their full potential, your animal deserves this innovative approach to joint care that is unlike anything else on the market. What is Epitalis? Derived from a plant seed oil comprised of fatty acids, Epitalis is the world-exclusive active ingredient powering foresight. Epitalis is globally patented for its ability to help maintain healthy joint cartilage development. When performance matters and long-term well-being counts, trust the science behind Foresight Epitalis Forte. Available at your favorite retailer or online at 4cyte.global.
If you're serious about your horse's health, whether you're riding dressage, show jumping, western, or racing thoroughbreds, there are two names you need to remember. Beamer, and independent Beamer representative Ian Robb. Trusted by high performers at every level, Beamer's equine line is scientifically designed to improve microcirculation, reduce muscular back pain, and promote faster recovery after exercise or injury. Beamer delivers more than a cutting-edge product. They bring a commitment to education, support, and real results. But this isn't a magic button, it's a system. And Ian Robb can make sure you get the most out of Beamer, and support doesn't stop after the sale. He offers personalized coaching, ongoing mentorship, and a true partnership in your horse's wellness journey. Real results need real support. Based at the World Equestrian Center in Ocala, Florida, Ian Robb is your go-to expert for Beamer's proven technology for both horse and human. Here's how to make it work for you. Call independent Beamer representative Ian Robb today, or scan the QR code on your screen to learn more. If it's horse health, it's Beamer.